So one of the sons died in an auto accident. The car actually drove off a road down a steep cliff on June 21st, 1991. Johnny Carson suffered a heart attack on March 19th, 99. He underwent quadruple bypass surgery. He was a very heavy smoker for decades, and he ended up dying from respiratory failure due to emphysema. So first, let's see why he had such fame and fortune, and let's talk about his chart here for a moment. So we can see that in the first house, the seventh sign of the zodiac was ascending or rising at 12 degrees 56 minutes of Libra. Libra, of course, is an air sign. It is a movable sign. And it is ruled by Venus. Venus is a very affluent planet, ruling the fine arts, the performing arts, the healing arts, and entertainment. Even as a child, he became a magician and got very involved in comedy and ended up with this wonderful television show. And we see he's not just plain Libra, because we have the royal planet Sun in the first house. Sun rules this 11th house of income and friendship, so it brought many friends to him and royal income to him. It had Mercury in the first house, which makes a person very good at communications. And we have Saturn in the first house. And Saturn here is exalted in Libra. And this is a Kendra and a trine, actually. So this becomes known as a Panch Mahapurush Yoga. So this one is called, Panch means five, Maha means great. So one of the five great yogas. This one's called Sasha Yoga. But it confers on a person senior statesperson position. So he knew how to measure his words. He knew how to communicate. Mercury rules the 12th house, so it also gave him international recognition. And Sun in the first house made him very independent, gave him leadership. Now Venus ruling the chart has gone into the second house of wealth and status and speech. So he achieved wealth and status through his own self-efforts and through the entertainment industry. Now he was very private and mysterious on his personal life, and that's because Venus ruling the chart is in Scorpio. And Scorpio is the 8th sign, so it relates to the 8th house, which also causes transformations and vulnerability. But there can also be some addictions. So he did have a share of, he was addicted to nicotine and to alcohol. But this also gives sweet speech, melodic voice. People really loved his personality and his style on television. In the third house, we have the 9th sign Sagittarius. So this is Moon and Jupiter, close conjunction here. Actually, in India, when Moon and Jupiter are in the same sign or kendras from each other, it's known as a Gaja Kasari Yoga. Gaja Kesari, which means the elephant and the lion. It's the symbol of aristocracy. Now, sometimes when people have this, it's not applicable, it's not effective, because either Moon or Jupiter will be a functional malefic planet, or this will take place in a Dustan Baba, one of the inauspicious houses, the 6th, 8th, or 12th house. So in Johnny Carson's case, this is not the case. This is beautiful. These are both functional benefic planets for Libra rising sign. And they're extremely well placed. This is called a waxing moon. It's pulling away from the sun, 24, 54, 74 degrees from the sun. So Moon rules professional life, 10th house of Cancer. And it's in the house of independent entrepreneurial success. And Jupiter ruling the house of independent entrepreneurial success is in its own sign of Sagittarius. This is very good. These are two very favorable planets in close conjunction in the house of communications, independence, mental development, self-expression, and entrepreneurial ventures. So everything he touched worked pretty well. In the fourth house, he had the 10th sign, Capricorn, and this is Ketu, K-E-T-U, the southern node of the moon at 7 degrees. It's always opposite Rahu, R-A-H-U, the northern node of the moon at 7 degrees. Now, these are mathematical ecliptic points in the zodiac. They cause the eclipse of the sun and the moon every year since the beginning of time. So if they can bring darkness to the royal luminary sun and moon, they can bring darkness in our lives. But we have to evaluate them in terms of their impact in a chart. If they were at around 13, 14, 15, 11, 10, 9 degrees, something like that, if they were close to this 12-degree range, they would be causing trouble. But they're not causing trouble. Now, Rahu throws an aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away, but its fifth aspect is outside the 5-degree orb of Venus, so it's not causing any trouble to Venus. It's not causing any trouble to the house or to the 2nd, 4th, or 6th houses. And K2 throws an aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away, not bothering this house, this house, this house, or this house, and it's outside the 5-degree orb of Mars. So these are considered benign, and they're considered very well placed. So K2 in the 4th house brings some detachment in home life. And he was not much of a homebody. Makes one a little bit reclusive at home. He did not really have a lot of social, like friends at his home, that type of thing. And Rahu, over here in the 10th house, is the house of professional life. And Rahu is a planet of ambition, desires, charisma. It gives magnetic personality in professional life when it's placed in the 10th house like this. So this also contributed to his enormous success. This is material life, this is spiritual life. Desires, non-desires. I want, I don't want. In the 5th house, we had the 11th sign Aquarius, ruled by Saturn. So Saturn ruling education and children and investments is exalted in the 1st house. It brings children to him, brought education to him, and brought investments to him. In the 6th house, 12th sign Pisces, 7th house, 1st sign Aries. So this is the house of relationships, partnerships, joint ventures, and marriage, ruled by Mars. And Mars has gone into the 12th house of losses and expenses and separations. So he really had a lot of difficulties in marriage and relationships. He had a lot of losses and expenses he lost a huge amount of money in divorce and divorce settlements. In the 8th house, we have the 2nd sign Taurus, 9th house, 3rd sign Gemini, 10th house, 4th sign Cancer, ruled by the royal moon. So moon rules his career, and moon is what? Moon is the public, working with the public. Libra rising sign persons are often well suited to working with the public, and they have a lot of changes and opportunities in life. And moon ruling the career is in the house of independent success, blessed by Jupiter. In the 11th house, we have the 5th sign Leo, ruled by the sun. So this is the house of income and friendships, and its sun is placed in the 1st house. It's very favorable and royal position for the sun. And in the 12th house, 6th sign Virgo, with Mars. So again, Mars rules relationships, and there was a lot of losses and expenses in relationships with him. Now let's overlay the functional nature of the planets to see things more clearly. For Libra, we say, excuse me, that there are 6 planets that will never cause harm: Sun, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn. There are 3 planets that are functional malefics. These are Rahu and Ketu, which are functional malefics for every chart. But as I pointed out, they're causing no serious damage in this chart. Now we know that there are 12 houses in the horoscope, from the 1st around through to the 12th. Of these 12 houses, 9 are favorable houses: the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Those are the favorable houses. But 3 houses in every horoscope are not favorable. These are the 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. These are called Dustan Bhavas, inauspicious houses. So planets going into those houses automatically become weak. And planets ruling those houses can, in some cases, cause adverse effects. It has to do with the Multrikone sign positions. Anytime a Multrikone sign falls in the 6th, 8th, or 12th, that ruler becomes a functional malefic planet. The Multrikone signs are 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11. So in the 6th house, there is no Multrikone sign, so the 6th house ruler causes no trouble. The 8th house does not contain a Multrikone sign, so the 8th ruler causes no trouble. But in the 12th house, we have the 6th sign, which is the Multrikone sign for Mercury. So Mercury for Libra rising sign becomes known as most malefic planet. And it brings frequent, lightweight, short-lived problems to the Libra rising sign person, mostly connected with the 12th house significations: losses, expenses, depression, isolation, separation, addictions. So we have to manage Rahu, Ketu, and Mercury if you're a Libra rising sign. Now let me just clarify something about the Multrikone signs. See, every planet has an exaltation sign. So for example, Sun is exalted if it's in Aries. And every planet has a debilitation sign, and Sun is debilitated if it's in Libra. Every planet also has its own sign. So Sun rules Leo. And every planet has a Multrikone sign. So Sun's Multrikone sign is also Leo. So just be aware when you're reading charts that if a Multrikone sign falls in a Dustan Bhava, the 6th, 8th, or 12th, it does become a functional malefic planet for that chart only. So 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11 are the Multrikone signs. 1 is Aries for Mars, 4 is Cancer for Moon, 5 is Leo for the Sun, 6 is Virgo for the Mercury, 7 is Libra for the Venus, 9 is Sagittarius for the Jupiter, and 11 is Aquarius for the Saturn. So now let's look at this chart one more time. So Mercury is the most malefic planet for this chart. And technically, it's within 5 degrees of the ascendant. If you add 5, you get 1756, and this is 1720. So it's just marginally, but it is within the 5-degree orb. So that brings some depressions and addictions and losses to him. And the 7th aspect of Mercury is on the 7th house of relationships. So that's where relationships got him into trouble. And Sun is in its debilitation sign, and that causes a weak heart, and he ultimately had quadruple bypass surgery. And we can say that because Mercury is in a house that is afflicted, no matter it's doing the affliction, that it can cause trouble with the respiratory canal. If we add 5 degrees to Mercury, so when we say any planet within a 5-degree orb of either the ascendant degree or another planet by conjunction or aspect will have an impact. If planets are not within 5 degrees of each other, there's no impact. So this Mercury is causing no direct harm to the Sun. But if we add 5 degrees here, we come up with 2220, and this is 2207. So that does undermine the strength of Saturn ruling the 5th house of children. Now, Sun and Jupiter are male children, and he had 3 male children. But this weakness, this affliction of Mercury ruling the 12th house of losses to Saturn ruling children, and the debilitated Sun didn't quite protect all 3 of them, and he lost 1 son in this tragedy. Apparently his son was taking photographs while he was driving and went off a cliff. Now Venus itself is very strong, very well placed. By the way, the weakness of Saturn can also cut short the lifespan. Saturn is called Ayush Karaka, significator for longevity of life. So there's some weakness there. It's not too bad. He had like 79 years. But it's still, nowadays people are going to be living longer than that. So there's some weakness. But I think the strong Venus, the strong Moon, the strong Jupiter ruling luck and publishing and communications, and Moon ruling the public, Moon ruling his career, and Rahu giving that energy and ambition and charisma, that magnetic personality, that's what carried the day. Let's just take a look at a couple of these important dates in his life. From 62 to 92, 30 years, he ran the Tonight Show. So when you're reading, by the way, when you're reading the timing of events, we study the Vimshottari Dasha sequence. We can see a person's past, present, and future general trends. The left-hand column is known as Mahadasha. Maha means great, Dasha means time. And all planets rule Mahadasha, ranging from 6 to 20 years, depending on the planet. Then within every main period, there are 9 subperiods of shorter duration. These are called Antardasha. And they would represent the current operating planet. If he was still alive, for example, he would be in the Mercury main period and the Sun subperiod from November 2016 to September 2017. Now, some astrologers will go 3 levels, 4 levels, 5 levels deep with dashas and use several different dasha systems. And in my opinion, that is just going in circles, never arriving anywhere. We want to arrive somewhere. So just keep it to the Mahadasha and the Antardasha. This is what we use in systems approach to Vedic astrology. And then you can also overlay transits on the chart. All significant events in life are connected with the planetary transits. And they can and will supersede the Dasha system. So always overlay the transits. Let's see some of these dates. So 62 to 92. So see, here's what happened. That's when he ran 30 years of success with the Tonight Show. First off, he starts in a Rahu Mahadasha, a Rahu main period. That started in August 57, so he started to become successful, comedian, entertaining. And then by 62, he gets started in a Jupiter, which is luck. and it's it's the Gaja Kasar yoke. So that launches his career, and then he goes into this exalted Saturn, which is very, very good for the chart, with the royal Sun and Mercury. But the point is, Rahu Mahadasha. Look at Rahu Mahadasha. Rahu is in the house of professional life, ruled by the royal moon, with the fortune of Jupiter. So the 18 years is fine, and then it's followed by 16 years of Jupiter. That's 34 years. So that's when he had his greatest success. But he also had some divorces during that time, and those can be attributed to a Mercury or K2 subperiod, or a debilitated Sun, or a Mercury K2 or debilitated Sun, or a Mars subperiod. This is usually a year of massive change, the last year of Rahu. So usually you'll see people change houses, spouses, careers. Some go up, some go down. By the way, Donald Trump completed his Rahu Mars a week or so after the election. So he won during Rahu. But that year ended up causing massive change. He changed houses. He moved out of New York to the White House. He changed spouses. His wife became not his wife, but the First Lady of the United States. And he changed careers. So he left as a businessman, became president. So people go through massive changes the last year of Rahu. But I've seen people lose everything also during that time. But then he went into the very favorable Jupiter Mahadasha. So here in August 91, that's when he went into Saturn, 19 years. But see, just prior to that, he finished Jupiter with a Rahu subperiod, which can cause some unexpected calamities and letting go of things. And that's when he lost the Sun, June 21st, 91. So he would have been here in the Rahu subperiod. He suffered a heart attack on March 19th, 99. So it was the Saturn main period, Venus subperiod. I guarantee you if we go put March 19th, 1999, we'll see what's going on. Let's try this with a transit chart. We're going to go back in time. Here's the date. We want to go to March 19th. We'll just round it up to 12. It doesn't really matter. It's more has to do with the day than just the exact moment. But on March 19th, 99, let's see what's happening here. This inner circle is this chart here. This is birth chart. This is just the circular format. And the outer circle is the transit chart, where the planets were on that particular day. So let's go to the Dashas and let's see what's going on, what was running. So Saturn main period, you would say, well, why would he, suffer a heart attack in a Saturn main period? Well, look at transit Saturn. It's in Aries. That is the debilitation sign for Saturn. And Saturn is in a house ruled by Mars, in the house of hospitalization and even end of life. Sun, ruling the heart, was in the 6th house of Pisces, of Dustan Baba, a house of health issues. So it was weak. Let's take a look at here's Mars, ruling relationships, Mars ruling the debilitated Saturn. And look at it. Look at the degrees, 18 degrees. Why is that a problem? Because take that Mars, put him over here at 18 degrees. It was afflicted by Mercury. Mars rules the muscular parts of the body, and the heart is a muscular part of the body. And this transit Rahu, K2 sitting here at 27 degrees. So take this K2 at 27 degrees, put him here. He aspects 5, 7, and 9 houses away. So he was afflicting that Mars as well. So this will just kind of give you some general idea, but there was 3 planets in the house of health issues. This is the 6th house Pisces. So Jupiter became weak, Mercury was weak, and afflicting Sun. There's a good one right there. Look at this. This is Mercury at about 5 degrees, and this is Sun about 5 degrees. So look at the close conjunction of these two. And what does Sun rule? It rules the heart. So normally you can see the afflictions in the transit chart. Okay, these are the main points from the chart for Johnny Carson. One last point. He passed away on January 23rd, 2005. So the Mahadasha was Shani, Saturn. And the subperiod was Mars. He died before he got into the Rahu subperiod. Mars is in the 12th house of end of life, losses, hospitalization. So at the time of death, January 23rd, 2005, he was in that Saturn Mars. I think earlier I meant to talk about the heart attack. But he was in that Mars subperiod when he died. Mars, of course, is in the 12th house of end of life and hospitalization. But take a look at a couple other things here. This is the transit. This is Mercury on that day, the most malefic planet. Look how close it is to Venus. See, Mercury is 25 degrees. Venus is 23 degrees. So that Mercury was afflicting this Venus, and it was afflicting his natal moon and his natal Jupiter. It had just gone over his moon, and it was on top of his Jupiter. And Jupiter was in the 12th house of end of life losses. And K2 was in the 1st house, about 3 degrees, and Sun is sitting here at 6 degrees. So the Sun also rules vitality in the heart. And Saturn sitting over here, which is Ayush Karaka, significator for longevity, total weak old age degrees, 29 degrees, and opposite Mercury at about 26 degrees. So this Mercury is also afflicting the Saturn. And it was afflicting this moon on that day. And this transit Sun just went over at K2. So that caused trouble for the Sun as well. Okay, these are the main points from the chart. I hope this reading is helpful. But I encourage you to study systems approach to Vedic astrology. It'll give you very clear indications of how to read a chart. So best wishes to you and yours for health, happiness, and prosperity. Namah Shivaya.